Some stories begin with a phone call. Others begin with a cry for help that echoes through the heart of a family. This one began with both a trembling voice, a father's fear, and a dog who refused to be ignored. It was a chilly autumn evening in the quiet suburb of Maplewood. The leaves had turned gold and red, swirling in the wind as the sun dipped below the horizon. In a small, cozy house at the end of Willow Lane, John Parker was finishing up dinner, humming to himself as he set the table for one. His daughter, Emily, had moved out a year ago to attend college in the city, but she called every night, and John cherished their conversations. As he poured himself a cup of tea, his phone rang. He smiled, expecting to hear Emily's cheerful voice, but when he answered, all he heard was sobbing. "Daddy, my bike hurts. It hurts so much. I don't know what's wrong." John's heart stopped. He gripped the phone, his voice trembling. "Emily, sweetheart, what happened? Are you okay?" Emily's words came in gasps. "I woke up this morning and it was just a little sore, but now it's so bad I can barely move. I tried to go to class, but I had to come home. I'm scared, Daddy." John's mind raced. Emily had always been strong, independent, never one to complain. For her to call him in tears meant something was very wrong. "Where are you now?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm at my apartment. I'm lying on the couch. I can't get comfortable. I tried taking painkillers, but nothing helps." John's protective instincts kicked in. "I'm coming, Em. I'll be there as soon as I can. Just hang on, okay?" He grabbed his keys and jacket, barely noticing the worried whine from Max, their loyal golden retriever. Max had been Emily's dog since she was 12, but when she left for college, he stayed with John, too old and too big for a tiny city apartment. Still, Max and Emily were inseparable whenever she visited, and he always seemed to know when she needed him. As John rushed out the door, Max barked, pawing at the window. John hesitated, then opened the back door. "Come on, boy. Let's go see Emily." The drive to the city was a blur. John's mind replayed every moment of Emily's childhood, her first steps, her first day of school, the time she broke her arm falling off her bike. He remembered how Max had never left her side, sleeping at the foot of her bed until she healed. When they arrived at Emily's apartment, John found her curled up on the couch, pale and sweating, tears streaming down her face. Max rushed to her, whining and licking her hand. "Daddy." "It hurts so much," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. John knelt beside her, brushing the hair from her forehead. "I'm here, sweetheart. We'll figure this out." He tried to help her sit up, but she cried out in pain. John's worry deepened. He checked her temperature, no fever. He asked about her symptoms, no injury, no illness, just a deep, relentless ache in her lower back. Max paced the room, whining and barking, his eyes fixed on Emily. He nudged her side, sniffed her back, then looked at John, barking urgently. John tried to calm him. "It's okay, Max. She's just in pain." But Max wouldn't stop. He pawed at Emily's back, then ran to the door, barking and looking back as if begging John to follow. Emily winced, clutching her side. "Daddy, what's wrong with Max?" John shook his head, worry gnawing at his gut. "I don't know, honey. He's just worried about you." But as the minutes ticked by, Max's behavior grew more frantic. He barked, whined, and pawed at the door, then returned to Emily, sniffing her back and whining louder. John's fear grew. He'd never seen Max act like this, not even when Emily broke her arm or had the flu. It was as if the dog knew something they didn't. He knelt beside Max, looking into his eyes. "What is it, boy? What are you trying to tell me?" Max barked, then ran to the door again, looking back at John with bleeding eyes. John's heart pounded. He looked at Emily, then at Max, and made a decision. "Emily, I think we need to get you to the hospital. Right now." Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Okay, Daddy. I'm scared." John helped her to her feet, supporting her as they made their way to the car. Max followed, never leaving her side. As they drove to the emergency room, John's mind raced with fear and questions. What if it was something serious? What if he was too late? But one thing was certain. Max knew something was wrong, and Jung was determined to find out what it was before it was too late. The drive to the hospital felt endless. John kept glancing at Emily in the rearview mirror, her face pale and drawn, her hands gripping Max's fur for comfort. The golden retriever sat pressed against her, his head in her lap, eyes never leaving her face. Every so often, he'd whine softly, as if trying to tell John to hurry. John's mind raced with worry. Emily had always been healthy, active, and full of life. She'd played soccer in high school, hiked with friends, and never let anything slow her down. But the past few months had been hard. College was stressful, her classes demanding, and she'd been working late nights at a coffee shop to make ends meet. John had noticed the dark circles under her eyes, the way she winced when she bent over, but she always brushed it off. "I'm just tired, Dad, I'll be fine." Now, as he sped through the city streets, John realized how much he'd missed. He remembered the last time Emily had come home for the weekend. How she'd slept for 12 hours straight. How Max had refused to leave her side. How she'd winced when she stood up from the couch. He chalked it up to stress, to growing pains, to the challenges of adulthood. But Max had known better. The dog had hovered over Emily, sniffing her back, whining when she moved too quickly. John had laughed it off, calling Max a worried old man. Now, he wished he'd paid more attention. At the hospital, John helped Emily out of the car, supporting her as they walked inside. Max tried to follow, but a nurse stopped him at the door. "I'm sorry, sir. No dogs allowed in the ER." John hesitated, but Emily squeezed his hand. "It's okay, Daddy. Max can wait with the car." John nodded, leading Max back outside. The dog whined, pawing at the door, his eyes full of worry. Inside, the nurses moved quickly, checking Emily's vitals, asking questions about her pain. John answered as best he could, his voice tight with fear. "She's never been sick like this before. She just woke up with back pain, and it's gotten worse all day." The doctor arrived, a kind woman with gentle eyes. She examined Emily, pressing on her lower back, asking about numbness, tingling, fever. Emily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "It just hurts. All the time. I can't get comfortable." The doctor ordered blood tests, an MRI, and a urine sample. As they waited for results, John sat by Emily's bed, holding her hand. He tried to stay calm, but his mind was a storm of worry. Outside, Max paced the parking lot, whining and barking at every person who passed. A security guard tried to shoo him away, but Max refused to leave, his eyes fixed on the hospital doors. John watched from the window, his heart aching. He remembered all the times Max had protected Emily, barking at strangers, chasing away stray cats, sleeping at the foot of her bed when she was sick. The dog had always known when something was wrong. As the hours passed, Emily's pain grew worse. She cried out when she tried to move, her body racked with spasms. The nurses gave her painkillers, but nothing seemed to help. John felt helpless. He stroked Emily's hair, whispering words of comfort, but inside, he was terrified. What if it was something serious? What if he lost her? The doctor returned, her face grave. "Emily's tests are inconclusive. Her white blood cell count is elevated, but there's no sign of infection. The MRI shows some inflammation, but nothing definitive. We need to keep her overnight for observation." John nodded, fighting back tears. "Is there anything else we can do?" The doctor shook her head. "We'll monitor her closely. If her pain gets worse, let us know immediately." That night, John sat by Emily's bed, watching her sleep fitfully. He thought about all the times he'd promised to protect her, to keep her safe. He thought about Max, waiting outside in the cold, refusing to leave. At midnight, a nurse came in to check Emily's vitals. As she left, John heard a commotion in the hallway. He stepped outside and saw Max, barking and whining at the door, his eyes wild with urgency. "Sir, your dog is causing a disturbance," the security guard said, trying to pull Max away. But Max broke free, running down the hallway, barking at the nurse's station. He stopped outside Emily's room, pawing at the door, barking louder than ever. John rushed to his side, kenneling down. "What is it, boy? What are you trying to tell me?" Max barked, then ran to Emily's bed, sniffing her back, whining and pawing at the sheets. The nurse frowned. "Maybe he senses something we don't." John's heart pounded. He looked at the nurse, then at Max, and made a decision. "Please," he begged. "Check her back again. There has to be something we're missing." The nurse nodded, calling the doctor. Together, they examined Emily's back, pressing gently along her spine. Suddenly, Emily cried out, her body arching in pain. The doctor's eyes widened. "There's swelling here. It wasn't this bad before." She ordered an emergency CT scan. As they wheeled Emily away, John hugged Max, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, boy," he whispered. "You saved her." As the minutes ticked by, John waited in the hallway, Max pressed against his side. The fear was overwhelming, but he clung to hope. The hope that Max had given him. The hope that they would find the truth before it was too late. And as the doors to the radiology suite swung open, John braced himself for the answer that would change everything. The hospital's fluorescent light seemed harsher than ever as John waited outside the radiology suite. Max pressed close to his leg. Every minute felt like an hour. John's mind raced with worst-case scenarios, but he tried to focus on Max's steady presence, the warmth of the dog's fur beneath his hand. Finally, the doors swung open and the doctor emerged, her face serious but not panicked. "Mr. Parker, can I speak with you?" John's heart pounded. "Is she okay?" The doctor nodded, but her brow was furrowed. The CT scan showed something we didn't expect. There's a small abscess near Emily's lower spine. It's putting pressure on her nerves, which explains the pain and the rapid swelling. It's a rare complication, but it can be very dangerous if not treated quickly. John's knees nearly buckled with relief and fear. "What do we do?" "We need to drain the abscess and start her on strong antibiotics right away. If we'd waited much longer, the infection could have spread to her spinal cord or bloodstream. Your dog's insistence focus on her back may have saved her life." He knew something was wrong before we did. John looked down at Max, tears in his eyes. "You're a hero, boy." The doctor smiled, her eyes softening. "We see service dogs and therapy animals do amazing things, but this is special." He didn't give up until we listened. Emily was prepped for a minor surgical procedure. John sat by her side, holding her hand as the nurses explained what would happen. Emily was scared, but Max's presence calmed her. The staff made an exception, allowing Max to stay in the room until she was sedated. "Don't leave me, Daddy," Emily whispered, as the anesthesia took hold. "I'm right here, sweetheart. Max and I aren't going anywhere." The procedure was quick, but tense. The doctors drained the abscess and sent samples to the lab. Emily was moved to a recovery room, her pain already easing as the pressure on her nerves subsided. John sat by her bed, Max curled up at his feet. The relief was overwhelming, but so was the guilt. He thought of all the times he'd dismissed Max's worry, all the times he'd told Emily to tough it out. He realized now that Max had been trying to tell him something all along. When Emily woke, she was groggy, but smiling. "It doesn't hurt as much, Daddy." John squeezed her hand, tears streaming down his face. "You're going to be okay, Em. Max saved you." Emily reached down, stroking Max's head. "Thank you, Max. You're my best friend." The nurses and doctors stopped by to check on her, each one marveling at Max's intuition. The story spread through the hospital how a loyal dog had refused to give up, how he'd led his family to the truth. As the hours passed, Emily's color returned, her pain faded, and her spirits lifted. John called Emily's mother, who rushed to the hospital, her relief palpable as she hugged her daughter and thanked Max over and over. The next morning, the infectious disease specialist visited. We caught the infection just in time. Another day, and it could have been much worse. Your dog's behavior was the clue we needed. John nodded, gratitude and awe in his voice. He's always looked out for her. He just wished she'd listened sooner. The doctor smiled. You listened when it mattered. That's what counts. As Emily recovered, the hospital staff brought Max treats and toys, calling him a hero. Other patients and families stopped by to meet the dog who had saved a life. Emily beamed with pride, telling everyone who would listen about her best friend. But the experience left a mark on John. He realized how easy it was to overlook the signs, to dismiss the instincts of those who loved us most. He promised himself he would never ignore Max's warnings again. As Emily prepared to go home, the family gathered around her bed, Max at her side. The doctor gave them instructions for follow-up care, but her final words stayed with John. Sometimes, the best medicine is the love of a loyal friend. You're lucky to have each other. John nodded, hugging Emily and Max close. We're the luckiest family in the world. But as they left the hospital, John knew their journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more moments of doubt and fear, but now they faced them together, father, daughter, and the dog who had revealed the truth. The days after Emily's surgery were a blur of relief, gratitude, and slow recovery. She stayed in the hospital for several more days, her body regaining strength as the infection faded. John never left her side, sleeping in the uncomfortable chair by her bed. Max curled up at his feet. Nurses and doctors stopped by often, not just to check on Emily, but to visit the dog who had become a legend in the ward. Emily's story spread quickly. The hospital's social media team posted a photo of her and Max, calling him the dog who wouldn't give up. Comments poured in from strangers, other patients, and even local news outlets. People were moved by the story of a loyal dog who had sensed what no one else could, and a father who had listened just in time. But for John, the real miracle was watching his daughter come back to life. Each day, Emily grew stronger. Her color returned, her appetite improved, and her laughter, so long absent, filled the hospital room. She and Max became inseparable, the dog refusing to leave her side even for a walk outside. One afternoon, as Emily rested, the doctor came in with good news. The infection is gone. You're healing beautifully, Emily. You'll need to take it easy for a while, but you're going to be just fine. Emily smiled, tears in her eyes. Thank you, Dr. Patel. And thank you, Max. Dr. Patel knelt beside Max, scratching his ears. You're a hero, Max. You saved Emily's life. John felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He thought of all the times he'd doubted, all the times he'd told Emily to walk it off, or just rest. He realized now that love sometimes speaks in barks and whines, in worried eyes and persistent pause. The hospital organized a small ceremony to honor Max. The staff gathered in the lobby, presenting him with a medal and a basket of treats. Emily beamed with pride as she told the story to the crowd, her voice strong and clear. My dog Max knew something was wrong before anyone else did. He wouldn't stop until my dad listened. He's not just my best friend, he's my hero. The crowd applauded, some wiping away tears. John hugged Emily, his heart full. He knew he would never take Max's instincts for granted again. When Emily was finally discharged, the family returned home to a house filled with flowers, cards, and gifts from friends and neighbors. The local news ran a feature on Max, and the mayor sent a letter of commendation, calling him a shining example of loyalty and love. But the real reward was the bond between Emily, John, and Max. They spent long afternoons in the backyard, Emily reading aloud while Max lay at her feet. John watched them, gratitude swelling in his chest. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned pink and gold, Emily turned to her father. I was really scared, Daddy. But I knew you'd come, and I knew Max would never let anything happen to me. John hugged her tightly. We're a team, Em. We always have been. Emily smiled, stroking Max's fur. I think he's the best doctor I've ever had. John laughed, wiping away a tear. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. The experience changed them all. John became more attentive, more willing to listen to the small signs and signals that love sends. Emily learned to trust her instincts, to speak up when something felt wrong. And Max became a local celebrity. But to his family, he was simply the dog who had saved the day. As the days turned into weeks, Emily's strength returned. She went back to college, but this time, she brought Max with her. The university made an exception, allowing the hero dog to stay in her dorm. Emily's friends adored him, and Max quickly became the unofficial mascot of the campus. But no matter how many new friends he made, Max always kept a watchful eye on Emily. He had saved her once, and he would do it again if he had to. And as John watched his daughter and her dog walk into the future together, he knew that their story was far from over. The months that followed brought a gentle transformation to the Parker family. Emily's recovery was steady, her strength returning with each passing week. She finished her semester with the support of her professors and friends, and Max became a beloved figure on campus. Students would stop to pet him, professors would sneak him treats, and Emily's story became a quiet legend shared in dorm rooms, classrooms, and even at the local coffee shop. John, too, was changed. He became an advocate for listening to the small signs, whether they came from a loved one, S-words, or a loyal dog's worried eyes. He spoke at local community events, sharing their story and urging others to trust their instincts and never ignore a cry for help. The hospital invited John, Emily, and Max back for a special event. They spoke to a packed auditorium of doctors, nurses, and families, telling the story of how Max's persistence had saved Emily's life. The staff presented Max with a special Hero Dog Award and Emily with a certificate of courage. After the ceremony, a young mother approached John, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for sharing your story. My daughter has been sick, and our dog has been acting strange. I'm going to take her to the doctor tomorrow just in case." John hugged her, understanding the fear and hope in her voice. "You're doing the right thing. Sometimes our best friends know us better than we know ourselves." Back at home, life settled into a new, sweeter rhythm. Emily and Max went for long walks in the park. John joined them whenever he could, and the family made a point to spend more time together. They celebrated the small victories: Emily's first pain-free day, Max's birthday, the anniversary of the day he saved her life. The local news followed up on their story, and soon, letters poured in from people all over the country. Some shared their own stories of pets who had sensed illness or danger. Others simply wanted to say thank you for reminding them of the power of love and loyalty. Emily wrote an essay about Max for her English class, titling it "The Dog Who Wouldn't Give Up." Her professor read it aloud to the class, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. As the seasons changed, Emily's health continued to improve. She graduated with honors, Max by her side in his own little cap and gown. The university president shook John's hand, thanking him for raising such a remarkable daughter. On the night of her graduation, Emily sat on the porch with John and Max, watching the stars. She leaned her head on her father's shoulder, Max's head in her lap. "Thank you, Daddy," she whispered, "for listening, for believing in me, for believing in Max." John smiled, his heart full. "Thank you for teaching me to listen, Emma. And thank you, Max, for never giving up." As the night grew quiet, Emily looked at Max, her eyes shining. "You're my hero, Max. You always will be." Max wagged his tail, content in the knowledge that he had done what he was born to do: protect, love, and never give up on his family. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, sometimes the smallest voice or the softest bark is the one you need to hear most. Trust your instincts, cherish your loved ones, and never underestimate the power of a loyal friend, because sometimes a dog's love can save a life, can change it forever.